You're listening to SM Media, the number one place for exclusive content.
Hi everyone and welcome to the latest episode of the SM Media Euro 2020 show. I'm Scott McBride, delighted to be your host as always. A very special show to get through tonight. Wilson is sitting there with an angry face, so let's go straight to Wilson. England are through to the final of Euro 2020. We'll introduce everybody first. Wilson, how are you?
Depressed.
Shankers, how are we?
I wouldn't say I'm low because I kind of expected it. So I think when you expect things like that and it happens, it kind of softens the blow a wee bit.
Rory, how are we?
Mixed emotions. I thought the Danes played well for about 75 minutes, but the level of expertise I bring to this show and my predictions is, you can't beat it. One each at full time, 2-1 England after extra time is just, I mean, I'm not just predicting things, I'm giving you full time results, extra time results and everything. I don't know what more you can ask for me.
Did you back it?
Yes.
Right, let's dissect the full game. England won 2-1 against Denmark. It was an up and down game. I think basically everything happened. We'll start with Wilson. Did the right team win?
No, I actually think now this has gone beyond a football game. As I was just saying to you there, this is now, we're going to, as I told you before we come on the show, our grandkids will read about this conspiracy theory and how this referee has accepted payment, as has his cohorts at the VAR, to make sure England get to the final. If England don't get to the final, then there'll be more folk at the Sturton game on Saturday than would be at the Wembley on Sunday. So there's something definitely amiss. Now, again, as we've all experienced in our lives, referees make mistakes. How the VAR can make the same mistake, it's impossible. And I've been a massive advocate for it. I think it's a great thing. But if they can't see that that's not a penalty, then it's a complete waste of time and money.
Right, we'll talk about the penalty decision later on. We'll start off with the first kind of 10 minutes of the game, Shankers. England did come out the traps flying.
I think we said last night, both Denmark and England have come out the traps flying in their recent games, and that's what we expected. And it was high intensity for, I would say, probably the majority of the game till the kind of end there when England were just kind of mucking about with the ball and stuff like that. But they come out the traps flying, and the only thing I think was missing was that early goal. But once Denmark got a foothold in the game and settled in, I thought they kept their shape well, and they were almost, when Stones and Maguire had the ball, they were retreating a wee bit, saying, right, fair enough, we're happy for you to have the ball. I mean, come and break us down. And for England's first goal, that's what he did. I don't like when Kane drops deep, but it was a perfect example of how he does it. He drops deep, gets the ball, feeds it through the line for Saka, it's a cut back and a goal. And that's obviously why he's dropping deep and bringing that into his game. I thought his hold up and link up tonight was excellent.
Rory, Denmark came into the game and scored a terrific free kick. It's a terrific strike, but should the goalie save it?
Yes, he should. No, well, Jordan Pickford shouldn't save it because he's not good enough to save it. He's one of these players. He's one of these goalies that flatters to deceive. You know, it's a little bit of a cliche, but the old camera saves. He's a good goalie. He's a good shot stopper. He's good, but that's where the line's drawn. You know, you look at his opposition number on Sunday. It'll be Donnarumma. He doesn't just save it. He shuffles across his line and probably catches it. Or tips it over the bar. Maybe I'm exaggerating to prove a point, but yes, that a keeper at that level in the European Championship semi-final should be saving that, in my opinion. And I know Gary Neville said at half-time the same thing, and Ian Wright disagreed. It is a fantastic strike, but it should be getting saved by a goalie of England number one standard, in my opinion. It's not in the corner. It's right in the middle of the goals. For me, he should save it.
Wilson, what's your thoughts on that? What's your thoughts on the Denmark goal? Do you think it is just too good a strike, or do you agree with Rory?
I'm undecided, to be honest. Again, It's hard to know. I mean, I say the boys will know better than me, but the power behind it sometimes, you know, I felt, I agree with Rory, what Rory said, to be fair, like an international or world-class goalkeeper saving it. We saw the angle from behind the goal. You know, it looked as if he should be saving it, or as Rory said, tipping it over the bar. But it's a fantastic strike for that distance and with that power to get it on target. Again, the wall, when Effect did its job, the wall all jumped. It was just a great hit. But yeah, probably agree with Rory, should be saving it. But I'm glad he didn't.
Shankers, England get back into it through an own goal. It was a terrific run for Saka to play in Raheem Sterling, but Kjaer got there first and put the ball into his own net. What was your thoughts in the first half?
I thought, as I said earlier, I thought both teams kind of started at a good pace and that kind of carried on through. I think England's missed a golden opportunity 2 seconds before they actually score. I think Sterling should probably score it, and he'll probably know that himself. But I mean, if the defender doesn't try and intercept it and clear it, Sterling's got a tap in anyway, and unfortunately he's put it into his own net. But Wilson said on the group chat after England scored that one, I only seen one winner, to be honest.
Was that, Rory, was that down to tiredness that kind of once England scored, Denmark's kind of fatigue set in? Do you think there was a bit of that, or did you see Denmark getting back into the game at any point?
Listen, up until about the 75th minute, I felt although England were the dominant team, it probably could have went either way. It wasn't until maybe the 75th, 80th minute that I thought Denmark started to look a little bit leggy, and I thought they lost belief a little bit. However, I mean, when England equalised, I still thought the game was relatively even. England are always going to have more possession of the ball. They've got the better football inside, but I still thought it was relatively even up until that point, 75th, 80th minute. But now, I don't think that goal changed the outcome of the game. I just felt that, listen, on the balance of play, England were the better team, but on the balance of play last night, Spain were the better team, and I just think come the final, I genuinely believe Italy will take 2 or 3 off England in the final. I really, really do. I really do. And that's not to say England won't score. I think Sterling and Kane are top notch, but I really do think that Italy have got the name on the cup. I just can't see past them. I really can't. But Denmark are not in Italy. The only team that England have played so far that would fall into that category is Germany. Don't get me wrong, Croatia are a good side. But tonight, again, in the semi-finals, they've come up against Denmark, and that's kind of how I thought the Ukraine game would go as well, to be fair. England would have enough overall and scrape through. They've done that tonight, but come Sunday, Italy will be a step too far.
You know, I think teams that like Germany, who are a nation that probably should be taking the game to teams, suit England slightly a wee bit, whereas like the teams have played so far, Scotland, Croatia, Czechs, even Denmark. I'm not saying sat in and camped in, but they're a wee bit slightly more defensive minded than what
you look at
Italy and Germany are.
You look at the chances though that England have gave up to other teams. The Muller chance, the chances tonight, for example. Italy at the moment need half a chance, and they're bending it and top in. Insigne, Chiesa, Locatelli. There's an array of talent in there that is eating up half chances. Never mind taking them, like slowing them in the top bin. And Pickford looked a nervous wreck.
His distribution tonight was very, very poor.
It wasn't just his distribution as well. There's some of his punches, and then he's screaming at other, almost like a nervous. It's like a tick, like a nervous reaction. Like he needs to kind of almost confirm the action he's taking. I just think when they come up against Italy on Sunday, Italy have got 3 or 4 players who are not just taking chances; they're gobbling up half chances.
Wilson, you're a very well revered and respected coach in the Ayrshire district. Does Gareth...
not even. Trust me, not even.
Does Gareth Southgate deserve a lot of credit for his tactics tonight?
Well, he's won the game, hasn't he? I think I was very confused. I was off and on watching it because I had the kids tonight. I was very confused with the Grealish substitution, and I know you guys were kind of on the WhatsApp a wee bit about he's giving the ball away, but then he was drawing fouls. I I didn't really get the Trippier substitution because I think he had enough pace down that side and an out ball and Kyle Walker. I thought maybe if he was going to play Sterling the full 120 minutes, he could have knocked him out there and played Grealish in as a 10 as such. So I didn't really get that substitution, but he's won the game, you know, and he's, in terms of the squad, he's probably doing the right things by giving everyone a kick of the ball in these European Championships. There can't be very many left. There's maybe not been on the pitch at any stage. So you do have to give the guy credit. I think you've got to give any manager that gets to a final European Championships credit. But I would just like to point out that the only manager he's not get the better of is Sir Steve Clarke. It's the only team that England haven't beaten.
Did that game tonight remind you of that? The Scotland game, though, with how kind of out Denmark played? Did it remind you a bit of that game, like the way? Because I think England did kind of struggle once Denmark got a foot in the game, and I thought it was the same against Scotland.
Possibly, but again, at that time, Scotland looked. It was 2 games into the tournament. I think Scotland were a bit fitter as well. I think Denmark, as Rory said, about 70-75 minutes, they were done in. You know, and I think one of you put in the chat that they would have taken penalties right there and then. And again, sometimes, you know, you can appreciate getting beat from a better team, but to get beat in those circumstances, and can you imagine? I mean, please God, let Locatelli or Chiesa dive in the 119th minute on Sunday and get a penalty and win it, because there'll be an absolute Italian assassination if they get away with something like that. So, but I'm sorry, I totally disagree with Rory. I think with the pace that England possess, you know, from midfield to front, and Sterling, etc., I think they'll bounce Italy off the park.
Right, we'll go through everybody. We know Wilson's viewing the penalty. Shankers, do you think it's a penalty?
No. I think they've not actually made it clear what, because it was kind of, I'm not saying 2 fouls, but there was 2 kind of, what, the first man and the second man, and the second man's, he's came across, he's no body gentleman, and that's the only one that it looked as if it can be given for, because he's came into contact with him. But at that point, it looks as if Sterling's already in his way down to the ground after like dodging the first one. So I just cannot believe for the life of me that we've got all this technology nowadays. See if VAR was away, scrap VAR, and it was back to before, and that's a penalty. I can really see why the ref's giving it for his angle, but for him to have the opportunity to go to a screen or a more, almost he's gave the decision right, but somebody's just okaying it. Go see a semi-final of the Euros. Surely to double check, he should be going over to the monitor and having a look for himself. That's what it's there for. And I think if he watches it a couple of times for a couple of different angles, he does make a different decision. I just can't for the life of me think why he's given that. I can see why he's given it, but I can't for the life of me think why he's not went to VAR and double checked it. I think that's what it's there for.
Money. He's been paid large amounts of money by the British government to make sure that England are in that final on Sunday. That's why he's given it, and that's why the person hiding at St George's Park or wherever they are watching it on the telly. That's why he's not been overturned. That's a fact.
Rory, where do you stand on it?
Listen, I think Shankers is pretty much summed up perfectly. I would completely agree with that. I don't go along with Wilson's conspiracy theories, but in relation to the actual incident itself, if I was a referee, I think I would probably give it. If I got a chance to look at the replays and get the chance to look at it again, I don't think I would give it. So listen. Like I said, I'm no one for conspiracy theories. I don't think there's any money getting handed about, just to be clear. But I would agree with what Shankar said. That if I was to explain my thoughts on it, I'd be pretty much repeating what Shankar said. So I'll no bother.
I think if he gives it fair enough, he needs to check it. It's too big a game to not.
That's basically my point. Just
that's
the
my
magnitude
opinion.
of the game, and it's not as if it was 4-1 and it was going to be. It was got almost deciding a game kind of thing. I know there's still time left in the game, but for a team to go up 2-1 at that stage of the game and the magnitude of the tie and everything. I just can't believe that he's not ever checked it. And he might go and check it and he might still go with his decision. And that's fair enough. If he's double checked it 2 and 3 times with different angles and he still gives it, that's fair enough. But I don't see why he's no went over and checked it at all.
The only reason he's not checked it is because he knows he's wrong by the reaction of both sets of players. Because not one England player, and you would expect a Maguire or a Shaw to be streaming into his face to get the penalty.
He gives the penalty though. But he gives the penalty. So why would you do that if he gives the penalty? You're not going to go up to the ref.
Well, could he be looking for send them off or whatever? Even when it went to VAR, the Denmark players seemed relatively calm at the referee because they think, well, check VAR and you see
they almost thought, we're going to get that.
Michael was very much, check your cameras.
But I think there's also an element of that it's going to get checked, so we don't need to panic. I think players are starting to realise that. But what I would say is, I don't think the magnitude of the game is relevant. The magnitude of any game is relevant to the team that's taking part. If it's the conference playoff final or the Lowland League in Scotland, it matters as much to that team as it does to England tonight. So I don't think the relevance of the game is relevant. I think
it's a right or wrong decision.
Aye, and ultimately, I don't agree with Wilson saying in terms of like the reasons why it's happened, but I couldn't agree more with Wilson and Shankers that ultimately the wrong decision was given.
The penalty. Obviously, Harry Kane takes the penalty. It's an appalling penalty, but he gets the rebound. What do we think of the penalty? Is it just a bad strike, or is it a good save?
I don't think it's a good save because he's tipped it almost back out for a tap, and I think he's made the wrong choice. I think he's trying to catch it, and he could. I would probably need to see it a couple of times again, but I don't know if he's in a position to palm it to the side. I think it's quite close to his body rather than outstretching, but it looks as if he's trying to catch it and he's made an arse and it's fell. I mean, how much more luck do you need? It just falls right out for a tap, and sometimes when you've got the luck, it just goes all your way, and that seems to be what's happened tonight.
Wilson, now you've got a task. What channel are you going to watch the final on? BBC or ITV?
Oh, ITV on mute, absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong. Lee Dixon was just as embarrassing. It was like listening to Gareth Southgate in the goal commentary. It was embarrassing. He's going, I can't sit down. I'm so nervous, and I don't care if it's a penalty. And oh my God! But at least he's got a wee bit about him, unlike the rest of those clowns in the BBC. So, to be honest, I genuinely don't think I will watch it because I cannot cope when they're lifting that trophy. I cannot cope. I'll just be sitting looking at my bank statement, waiting for Rory Alloy's money to come in and that maybe cheer me up. And I've actually got a couple other bets on with some people.
Wilson, if England win, I don't think me transferring you 20 quid is going to change your mood.
I will increase my mood 1% because that'll be my 2 MS10 golf hats for the summer. I'll be getting purchased, and that'll be me. And then I'll wear them when Pikey takes me down to Turnberry soon. So that's it. Well, every cloud, Rory, every cloud, but it's devastating. It's absolutely devastating.
It's my birthday Sunday now. I imagine England win it.
Oh, I would cancel all birthdays from now until the end, mate. To be honest,
that would be a real shocker if England that.
Do you think
normally the World Cups and Euros always fluttering about my birthday, so it's quite good. But this time it could be a really bad one.
Do you think England score if they don't get the penalty? Do you think it goes to penalties?
Listen, it was either going to penalties or England were going to win. I didn't see any scenario where Denmark score in extra time. I just didn't. They were penned in. England were battering them. Sterling was, again, me and Shankers had that discussion on the WhatsApp, but for me, that is an unbelievably strong decision from Southgate. Grealish came on when they needed a goal, gave the ball away so many times. He won free kicks, but at that point, they're not trying to score again. It takes a strong manager to do that, and I think that was the right decision. Sterling was outstanding. Even in the second half of extra time, he was still breezing by players. Grealish wasn't doing that. He was giving the ball away. He was flattering to deceive. And I don't see a scenario where Grealish comes on, even in the final. No, I thought he was that.
I saw as well, like a few England fans saying about what's Gareth Southgate got against Jack Grealish. I don't think he's got anything against him. I think it was purely
that's fans who
tactical.
don't like that. That of course it was tactical. If you're looking at that game, going right, who's most likely to give the ball away at 2-1 up with 15 minutes to go in an offensive position? It wouldn't be Sterling. Obviously, Foden's no come on yet. It's got to be Grealish. It's not that he's got anything against Grealish, but see, at the end of the day, at that level, if you come on and you don't perform, and you need to make it at the end of the day, if England don't get that penalty and score the goal ultimately, Grealish stays on the pitch and there's no questions asked. But they won the game. Grealish was very, very poor when he came on, in my opinion. Gave the ball away continuously, made the wrong decision. I won free kicks in dangerous areas. That's fine. But for me, he didn't give enough. For me, as I said, I don't see a scenario where Grealish gets any minutes in the final.
That's where you have to admire Southgate's bravery, because he knows by making that tactical substitution, if England lose that game and he's sub Grealish on to sub him back off, he'd be eaten alive by the media, because Jack Grealish is one of the golden boys, another golden generation of young England players coming through, etc. And so that's where maybe a 0.25% of me admires Gareth Southgate, because it was, Rory's right in his analysis there, 100%, but it's still a brave decision to make. And regardless, the rest of your life, and I don't know if it's ever happened to you two boys, I'm quite sure it hasn't, but to be subbed on and subbed back off in the semi-final European Championship, it could be pretty demoralising for a player.
I've been hooked a couple of times at half time in that, but I've not had the sub that.
It's took me all. I've been taken off in 5 minutes to go, and they've tried to put me back on when we've conceded a goal, but I've never been taken off. I've never been put on and taken off again. No, they've tried to put me on a couple of times, take me off with 2 minutes to go.
But so it's pretty demoralising, that, I would imagine.
See this on the sub, like I would get it if Denmark were like throwing balls in and causing England serious problems, but I think they were totally in control. Like I totally see the point, like about Grealish giving the ball in that, but I don't think England were in the position where they needed an extra defensive-minded player on. I don't know if it's just because there's 15 to go and they're up to one just on the side of caution.
Put it this way: the name you put forward to take off out with Grealish was Sterling, right? So say at half time of extra time, the question is put to you, right? Forget Jack Grealish is not going to knock at your door. There's going to be no consequences to your decision here. Mm-hmm. Who do you take off? I 1,000,000% think everybody would take off Grealish. I think that the only people that would take Sterling off are the people who are weak enough to go, I'm going to get shite here.
I totally get that. I just didn't think some actually needed to take place in the first place, but I mean, as you said, Sterling actually goes through and has a shot at the end, and where he's 120 minutes in and he still looks fresh as he did with 5 minutes played. But I didn't actually feel the need for an extra defender on. I mean, Denmark, a team that was done 2-1, they didn't really look as if and they were given absolutely everything at the end, like whereas in took the big centre half up and they're playing balls up for flick on that. I didn't see any of that. I thought it was actually quite strange the way the game just kind of petered out at the end.
It's one of those ones as well where, as a manager and as a player, the balance of power often switches based on results. Gareth Southgate can now go to his bed tonight. I know it's tournament football, but this is relevant in club football as well, knowing nobody has a right to knock on my door on Monday. So I can go to bed tonight and I can go to sleep and I can sleep well knowing that, see if somebody knocks on my door on Monday, I can go fuck off, we won the game. Whereas there's times on the Monday where you've maybe made a decision and you've taken Grealish off and you've lost the game where you're like, how am I going to handle that conversation? So, Southgate's got the decision right. They've won the game and it's a results-driven business, and Gareth Southgate's now got the right, if Jack Grealish knocks on his door, to go, well, let's actually analyse the game here. We won the game and you gave the ball away X amount of times. This is the reason why I took you off.
Do you know, think if England are in the same position on Sunday, like even if they're 1 down or something like that with half an hour to go, do you think he would turn to somebody like Grealish? Do you think that's him his tournament almost by now?
But that's where man management comes into play, and you can put him on and trust that he's going to be able to produce. And also, it's the last game of the tournament, so he's not going to see my game, so he can do what he wants.
I've got under no illusions that Jack Grealish will go and Ken. That'll almost be forgotten. They're in the final, and Grealish will go and play for England. I mean, another 30, 40 times at least, anyway. So there's a bigger picture. And
we need to make a special mention for Denmark as well, Wilson. Obviously, we know the circumstances they were faced at the first two games, and I don't think any team can be faced with what they were faced with and come through and no feel under pressure, and they come through it and they've reached the semi-final, played some terrific football. We'll have to give them a lot of credit for how they've approached this tournament, Wilson.
100%. You know, it's what happened was it was surreal at the time, and I think possibly the Eriksen's recovery, well, to date, as such, kind of galvanised him a wee bit. You know, obviously, everyone at the time, and it was extremely serious. And again, I don't want to make excuses. I'll put it on record. England deserved to win that game tonight. I've no qualms about that. No matter what they did, obviously, by cheating and giving money to the referees, different. But again, you wonder possibly the kind of psychological pressure as well. You know, the relief they get so far, and they're knowing that a mistake puts them out. And after all what's happened, I just wonder if that possibly played its toll. Because, as I say, and I know they've played a lot of games, same as England, I thought they looked shattered. I thought that with the Ukraine as well, even the last 16. You know, after 3-4 games in a fortnight, they looked shattered. And I've said this for a while now. I'm actually a wee bit concerned. Not so much now, because obviously, you know, Kelly's in the Championship, but I'm concerned for a lot of these players and what kind of product the big leagues are going to have this season, because that's been a tough Euros on top of a tough season where they've crammed. So, I mean, it's even been a game on every night of the week. And then if, you know, they're going to play another full season and a half and then straight into a World Cup. Now, I know these guys get plenty of money and their jobs to be fit, etc., but I do start to wonder about the standard of product.
Are you suggesting that Scotland going out 3 weeks ago is going to see a sparkling season in the SPL? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think Big Angie will make sure it's a sparkling season in the SPL with his coaching techniques. I mean, a massive win today against former Rumblers Cup finalist Sheffield Wednesday. Was a great start to the era with Ajeti as captain and Gavin and John sitting playing noughts and crosses in the dugout, which looked great. They looked thrilled to be there. But not even for the high level leagues, you know, especially the Premiership. A lot of these players playing the Premiership. A couple of Danish guys from Brentford as well, and I just think the product could be fairly poor with a lot of tired legs out there in the next couple of seasons. But see, that's what they get paid for anyway.
Shankers, yeah, you want to add in Denmark before we move on?
No, I mean, I had to be reminded of the commentary that Denmark lost their first two games, so for them to be in this situation in the first place says a lot about them as a squad and as a unit, togetherness especially. I know we keep saying it, but after they've been through pretty much one of the worst situations you could probably go through in a tournament after the first game. So for them to overcome this and get to where they got to is almost an achievement in itself. And you could almost see it was maybe a hurdle too much tonight. To start with, when the goal went in, I thought, oh, surely if there is a God, let Denmark get to the final. But as the later the game went, and when England equalised, you can almost just seen one winner. And I actually felt a wee bit sorry for them in the end, because they looked dead in their feet, and as I said, it was a hurdle too much. I think, see, when teams like Denmark and stuff like that, they've not got the luxury like England are bringing some of their players on. I mean, Denmark had to make, I think they made 3 changes at one time, and they used all their subs in 90 minutes. I mean, England were going into extra time, there's still 4 subs to make. So if the game didn't go their way in extra time, they still had the legs, and I think that took its toll. I think Denmark had to take somebody off with an injury and go down to 10 men. So I think over the piece, the games have probably took their toll on the Denmark squad, and it was just a game too much tonight. But they can hang their heads high. They've done well.
think as well, just touching on the subs from Denmark, I mean, we're very quick to analyse England and talk about England because we're so close to that. But I wonder if back in Denmark, they'll be looking at going, I wonder if we gave England a wee bit too much respect, having the boy Poulsen, for example, on the bench, who had performed extremely well in the last 2 rounds and scored a couple of goals in the tournament. Maybe the Danish will be going, okay, we got to the semi-final and it's known as a good tournament. But if he came on at a time in the game where England were on top and Denmark couldn't get a foothold in the game. So, it'd be interesting back in Denmark if they're looking at that going, we had a chance to go and, he would run beyond and, third man runner, breaking the lines, etc. Denmark severely lacked that throughout the first 75 minutes when they're on top. So if he'd been on the pitch for the start, and as Wilson's kind of been saying, the coverage, I mean, it took 25 minutes for, I think the line was, there is another side to the story here for them to mention Christian Eriksen and even even recognise that Denmark were playing. It took 25 minutes for that to be the case. So, I would have quite liked Poulsen to be on the park for the start, maybe cause England a few more problems. And they went one up, but I think if he'd been on the pitch, he probably would have had more of a say than in the last kind of 15-20 minutes that he did get.
See that Braithwaite, how he plays for Barcelona, I will never ever know.
I thought he did all right tonight. He's not Barcelona class.
But, if he doesn't play for Barcelona, he doesn't play in front of that Poulsen.
But again, it's squad rotation and tired players, etc.
Surely adrenaline's taking Poulsen through the first 70 minutes, and if you need to change him, you need to change him rather than the other way about. No,
you would think so in big games, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
But the highlight for me was the commentator. It was quite late on. I think it was still in the 90 minutes, and England got a corner, and he said, "Here come the special teams, which you would get in the NFL, etc., to convert or score a touchdown." And every England set piece is just knock it into the box and let Harry Maguire go and have a shot at it. There was not one set piece worked. There was not anything. Sterling blasted one off the wall early doors. Then everyone was just chucked into the box for Maguire. Now, when you saw the bit of the national anthem, some of these Denmark players were towering above Harry Maguire. So that I mean, maybe it's because Alan Russell's not there anymore. They don't maybe work on these set pieces and all that kind of stuff. Now,
they scored three in the last round.
Just corners in it. Exactly, but then that was Henderson and it was varied up a bit. Whereas tonight it was just aim it for Maguire. Disappointing.
It's an unbelievable bet, by the way. Harry Maguire get 2 headers on target in the 90 minutes. Even if they don't, trouble the goalie, he seems to get on the end of everything.
Size of that heat, right? I know.
Right, we'll move on to Sunday. We'll do a preview show to preview the final later on in the week. But England, I've just looked in the bookmakers. England are favourites. Rory, that goes against what you thought. How do you see the game going right now? We'll preview it in depth later on, but what's your thoughts in the final now we know who it is?
Listen, I've not seen the odds, so if you're saying that England are the favourites, I don't know if you're talking, a fraction of a difference or a massive difference or whatever.
England are 4-6 to win it. Italy are 11-10, so it is tight, but England are odds on. So,
look, I think the bookies are probably looking at that going, it's a bit of a coin flip. However, given the home advantage, given the fans, will give England the edge. That's probably because, let's be honest,
I think that's home advantage.
Let's be honest, the bookies couldn't care less as long as they make money. But what I will say is that I genuinely believe that when push comes to shove on the day, I think Italy will have too much for England. I really do. I think that England did well against Germany. They deserve to win the game overall, but I think Italy are a different beast. I don't think England have played a team of Italy's quality yet. I think there's something a little bit different as well. Even the scenes at the end of the Italy game, it wasn't the celebrating, getting to the whatever else. They're all singing Spinazzola's name. They had the shutout. It's very much a team environment. It's very much one for all for one, that type of idea. And don't get me wrong, England have got things going in their favour as well. I just think Italy can score out of nothing. And if Sterling has an off day, for example, I think England are. It's crazy to say, but you look at Sancho, you look at Grealish, etc., etc. I know Grealish set up Sterling, but in the Czech Republic game, but I just think Italy have got too much quality all over the pitch. I really, really do, and I cannot see any other outcome than a comfortable Italy win. When I say comfortable, I don't mean scoreline wise, but 2-0 Italy would be my prediction.
Wilson, how do you see it going from an early perspective?
I think Italy will come out the traps quickly, but I think I can't necessarily not see them possibly scoring, but I think England will just pick them off. I think they've got the quality to pick them off, the range of passing coming from the back, the wide players, the pace of Walker, etc. I can't see any other than a comfortable England win. And when I say comfortable, I'm going 3-1. I think Italy might score, but as I say, I think England will be too physical for them as well. I think it'll be a 20-minute kind of
too physical for Chiellini and Baccini. You think so? So say take Kane and Immobile out of the equation, because for me Kane is by far and away the better striker. Where do England excel over Italy anywhere else on the pitch?
I think Sterling's better than Insigne.
I think Sterling, Grealish, Mount, Foden have all had excellent seasons. I mean, again, I don't see much of the Italian players, but I think all those guys are more than capable.
I think Italy's midfield's better than England.
I think centre mids. I think
Rice and Phillips can dish it out, etc. You know, I don't know if the Italian fellas can, Jorginho, etc. And I just think England might want it to be a bit of a battle. You know, if they can isolate Kane up against the two good centre halves who are ageing as well, I think that the pace of England and the physical presence of like Stones, etc. I can see England winning the game very, very comfortably.
Shankers,
physical presence of Stones.
Physical presence. I mean, I know you've scored past them. We've heard this before.
I think if anybody
Maguire, Stones, Walker, Shaw, these guys would mix it as well.
If anybody was to give Stones' attributes, I think physical strength would probably be last on the list. No,
he's big. He's a big physical. He must be a physical player. A big lad. Plays centre half for the champions. He's no fairy. I mean, he must have been in his Barnsley days to let you skip past him. He must be pretty slow, but a big physical attributes. I would say you're right. Maybe again, I think the forward players are better than Italy's forward players. I think at the moment you would take Bonucci and Chiellini before Stones and Maguire. You'd maybe take the goalie before Pickford. But again, 11v11, I think England can mix it and be physical.
So if you're taking the two centre backs,
why don't on Sunday we do England, Italy, and we'll pick our 11 out of the two squads before it.
We'll do that in the Sunday show.
It's interesting though. So if Wilson's taking the goalie and the two centre backs, for me, so you're picking Jorginho, so you're picking Rice and Phillips over Jorginho?
And a physical battle, absolutely. Every day of the week. The quality of a player, Jorginho's a better player, but in terms of turning it into a physical battle, I'm taking Rice and Phillips to be able to dish it out more than the others, the Italian midfield.
But Baccini and Chiellini, you can't tell me that they're not up for a physical battle.
They don't play centre midfield though.
No, but they don't play centre midfield, but you're picking those two above Stones and Maguire. So those two can do the physical side of things and then can feed the ball to Jorginho, is my point.
Aye, but Rice and Phillips will kick their head off.
They're not getting near him.
in the middle of the park.
Near him.
As I say, set pieces, I think England will be a wee bit more dangerous because I think they'll be able to compete a bit better. I say Shaw and Walker are no shrinking violets either, and I think.
Walker was exceptional tonight, wasn't he? Walker was good tonight.
Yeah, he was really good.
So quick.
He's ridiculously
unbelievably quick.
There was one in the first half. His recovery was ridiculous.
Was that the one with Braithwaite was going through and goal?
I don't know, but I thought he was going to shoot like goal one and one with the goalie.
Aye, he was so quick.
Aye. Shankers, you've got the cast and vote. Wilson and Rory have went with opposite sides. Where you going?
Give us a score, Wilson. You've not given us a score.
3-1 England.
I'm siding with Wilson. I think everything's in favour of England. The way it's went so far, you can see at times where, like the whole England-Germany thing, it's went against them in the past. They've overcame it. The rights are where a decision going their way like that. I think everything's just kind of fallen into place. The game at Wembley as well. Like that's, as Rory touched on it, that's probably the reason why they are favourites. But they should be at Wembley. The majority of supporters, everything's just fallen into place for them, and that's why I think they'll win it. I think they've also got better options for the side where if they're not winning or they're needing a wee bit of some. I think England's got a better options coming off the bench.
I would definitely agree with that.
I agree with that as well.
Is it Anthony Taylor or Michael Oliver? Who's reffing it? Who's the ref going to be?
I think it'll be that German boy that was reffing the semi last night. It should be one of the semi-finalist referees.
I don't think it is. I don't think the semi-finalists do the final. I might be wrong, but I think it's somebody I think it's always somebody that doesn't get the semi-final.
See, that's why I wondered tonight, was the ref not changing that decision, because he'll never, if he gets it wrong, does he get another big game?
Well, if that's the case, what happens there? Does he get the final because he's stuck to his guns?
No, because he's made a mistake, and UEFA will be sitting saying you should have went to the VAR. The VAR girl got halved as well, I'm sure, because that's a mistake.
I don't think it's his choice to go over the screen though. I think he gets told to go.
I think he gets told to go too, but okay, the other way.
I disagree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you, Wilson, at all. I just don't think it's his decision to see the screen.
So he has to be told to go to the screen. Right?
I think he's told. I think he's told.
I think they're advised. I think he should go and have a look at it.
Go and have a look at that. Like, and if it's up to him to kind of make a decision if he does it or not. But another way to look at it is, I'm keen to ask your thoughts on this, Wilson. If that's for Denmark, that penalty decision, is there an outcry from the England?
Of course there will be. I think any team against that, they'd be surrounding the referee, and I think you'd have buckled under the pressure and then possibly went and had a look at the monitor. Now, again, I can understand that point if he's advised, because every referee would be like, every 2 minutes, I better go and check if that throwing was the right way. I better go and check that. We've been there for 4.5 hours.
Do we think VAR has been used well up until this?
I honestly, and I know that it's had its critics, I think if it comes up, excuse me, with the right decision, then it's right. Now, if the rule book states that if it's a fingernail or an elbow or a toenail, you're offside, then if that gives you the right decision, it's maybe the rules you need adjusted.
Cat amongst the pigeons here, though. The Harry Kane one, Wilson, if that penalty is given, that's not getting overruled, right? So the fact it wasn't given kind of dilutes your theory about them, it being a fix or all the rest of it, because Harry Kane's one could easily have been given, and that would not get overturned because it was contact, right? But it wasn't given, and it wasn't overturned because it wasn't clear and obvious. However, if that was given, there's not a chance that's getting overturned. Harry Kane gets to the ball first, and and the Denmark player makes contact with Harry Kane. The referee is strong and says, no, it's not a penalty. However, if that's given, it does not get overturned.
It still gives Denmark an hour to get back into the game. He's obviously been well warned after the Harry Kane one, saying you had your chance.
Do you think that was a penalty, though? Do you think it was a penalty?
Harry Kane's one, no, because he's an absolute cheat. He is one of the world's worst divers, but because he's English, gets away with it.
I don't disagree with you. But do you think that was a penalty?
I didn't think it was a penalty. No. I thought momentum is such, and he's brilliant at it. Don't get me wrong. It was like the old one that Shearer used to do. As soon as the ball was played long, Shearer would just, go forward and draw in fouls all the time. And Kane, he's excellent at it, but he's a cheat. There's no doubt in that. He's an absolute cheat.
Shankers, do you want to finish your prediction for the England-Italy game?
I think England will win.
Come on, Shankers, by the time you get one right.
2-1 England with a very, very brilliant performance.
Very, very brilliant. We are going to wrap up the show there. I just want to thank Wilson, Rory and Shankers for coming on. We are going to do a preview show for the final in depth in the next few days. I don't know what day we're going to do it yet, but we'll be back on at some point before the final. Follow us on social media and subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channels. Thanks very much, everyone. We'll see you soon. Cheers.